Well, Jesus is one person that never actually needed, afterlife care or mortician tying it in.
I guess if you bring yourself back to life, you don't, do you?
Yeah, no, he was God or some shit. I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Or his friends took his body and hid it. One of the two.
Yeah, but that rock was really heavy.
Friends, if you got friends that can turn water into wine,
you revive them.
You keep that guy around.
Would Jesus apostle? What are they called? Disciples.
Oh, apostles.
Disciples.
I like you said apostle. You remember the apostles?
His 12 disciples.
Yeah, they dropped that hot fucking 9 with the fucking
right.
with Wu-Tang.
Oh,
that shit was
goodness
sick.
gracious.
I remember it in high school, bumping it in my fucking Mazda Miata.
The apostles in the hood.
I invented a new thing. I don't know what I was going to say, so forget it. Fuck that. I'm sorry. This is third segment. Thank you everybody for listening. We love this show because we're doing it.
Owen's drinking vodka now.
Exactly.
For those of you who are keeping
Look,
count.
We talked to my grandmother. My grandmother makes me drink. It just happens. But we're in the third segment. I've been teasing it all show. We have a guy who people are just dying to meet.
Literally.
This is Tommy the Mortician. Hi.
Hey, what's up, man? How
Hey.
you guys doing?
Welcome to the show, first off. I apologize for being later in the show.
Oh, not a problem. I got held up. I was at a work dinner.
All right. A work
and-
dinner.
Yeah, my one of my bosses is retiring,
Okay.
so we had like a nice fancy dinner
Okay.
at a Brazilian steakhouse.
I like
So my
steakhouses.
colon is full of beef right now. so if I nod off in between here, just slap me, wake me back up, and we'll jump back in.
Is he retiring from the business or from
Exactly.
life?
No,
Business.
No,
Oh.
my boss was retiring, so now I have like a new boss. But so the old one, we're like having a going away party. So we kind of did that tonight. So that.
So,
But-
Will he get the family discount?
Oh yeah, exactly.
So just again, Tommy does a podcast called The Other Side of Death.
okay.
And that podcast is in a constant state of evolution. So you're trying to like constantly do more with that podcast, correct?
Yeah. Alternatively, I'd kind of like to morph it into like a YouTube channel plus the podcast, to where we can kind of like what you guys are doing here. You're broadcasting live, but then also have like a stream to where people can get the podcast afterwards, and
And
I'm trying to get up with the technology. I'm old, so I need
I'm with you,
my
man.
nephew's help because
So
he's
when
the
you
tech guy.
pitched it to me, what I thought was interesting, you're like, it's like kind of like giving people the ability to like know what's gonna happen like after you die, so it's less scary, right?
Well, yeah. Well, see, the guy that I do it with, Brandon Dobbs, he's a funeral director.
yeah.
So he actually does the funeral side of when you die, the prearrangements, if you're going to get cremated, if you're going to get embalmed, all that stuff. That's the side of death that he handles.
And then you actually
and then
do it.
Then the other side of death is what happens. I worked in forensic pathology for 16 years. That's where we're trying to get the cause and manner of death. So if you find somebody dead, that's where the medical examiner gets involved, or a coroner gets involved, depending on where you are, what jurisdiction it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to figure out, okay, you found somebody dead in the bottom of a pool. Well, did they drown?
Or
Did
they
somebody
murdered?
hit them in the back of the head? Were they drugged and thrown in the pool? We find people in the pool, and you pull them up, and there's no water in the lungs. Well, guess what? They didn't drown.
Yeah.
So now you have to figure out what happened. So some of that is toxicology. When you do an autopsy, you open up the head. Somebody banged him in the back of the head. Guess what? There's going to be a big bruise in the back there. There's going to be blood. It could be, a bullet hole or something like that. So there, you're more invasive because we're trying to figure out what happened.
With the bodies that come through your, doorstep or whatever, how many are actually like homicides versus natural causes?
I mean, it's because in Florida we go by districts. So
Okay.
I worked in the district where we had Orange and Osceola County.
Oh.
Because it goes by population.
Yeah.
And so Orange County has more population, even though it's smaller, because Osceola County is huge, but they have less population.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes by funding, because it's a state and county funded thing. So based on the taxes, who's going to pay for the service? That's who kind of gets the jurisdiction.
Okay.
And stuff like that. And so with the district that I was in, I think the homicides were maybe 1 or 2% of the caseload.
Wow, that's
so
it.
it sounds like, that's not that much, but the amount of cases they were doing there was about 2,500 to 3,000 cases a year.
Oh, and then 3% of that.
And
yeah,
so,
that's a lot.
1 to 2% of that. Back in the day when I first started, the major cause of death, the leading cause of death, was motor vehicles. Either bad weather knocks you off the road, you're not paying attention, you get hit by a car, you get hit by a train. You get a lot of that down here
Yeah,
because
especially-
people are stupid.
Especially with the sunrail, people have been like killing themselves.
Exactly,
With it.
and now you got distractions. People are on their phone. People are listening to music. People are watching YouTube podcasts while they're driving. I've literally seen people in a Tesla watching a YouTube thing while they're driving. I'm like,
Well, they're not driving. The car's driving.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But it's like,
So-
how can you pay attention to what you're doing
Yeah.
when you're distracted? So a lot of the car accidents now are because people are distracted.
So the morticians actually do the autopsy?
No. The mortician works for the funeral home. They're the ones who do the embalming.
Okay.
They're the ones
The
who
metal
do.
I got
December.
confused
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's a mortician, which is a funeral home. Then there's a coroner or a medical examiner. They're the ones that do the autopsy that determine the cause, manner,
Like
of death.
Dr. G.
Yeah,
Do you know her? Have you met her?
I worked with her for 11 years.
No
Yep.
shit.
She retired about 10 years ago. Moved out west with her husband
Yeah.
because her husband is from Washington State, likes the cold and hates the humidity. And he retired. And he's like, I'm getting the hell out of Florida.
Yeah.
So
No.
she-
So
On one of those free like cable services, there's a Dr. G channel, and I'm always
Yeah.
watching that. Have you ever been on like a part of one of those documentaries?
Oh yeah, those. Well, that like I said, that show's been. She retired 10 years ago, and I think that show they stopped recording that about
it was a while
13
ago.
or 14.
Yeah.
So they're all reruns.
Yeah.
So you'll see my younger stunt double in there.
No shit.
That was like
I've probably
12
seen
years
you then,
younger.
man.
Yeah.
Can I ask
Yeah.
the first stupid question?
Sure, go ahead.
So, like, being a mortician, is there somebody that's like the guy for like makeup and stuff? Like, is there somebody that like you morticians
yeah.
go, oh, that guy, he
Well, no, yeah,
can
like
make a
the-
dead person
well,
look like
well-
they're alive
Well, in
again?
the
Like-
funeral home, you have like a prep room where they do the embalming, and so you have a funeral director who actually does the embalming. That's where you got to drain the fluids. You put in the embalming fluid that slows down the decomposition process, helps preserve the body longer. So if you're gonna have an open casket, if the body's got to get shipped out, I've seen some that had to get shipped overseas.
Yeah.
That's where they got to do like a triple embalming. So they turn them into rubber. If they're gonna donate their body to science, they have to do that, so that they can do things
I
like
want the
that.
triple rubber.
but-
no. What if I just want my body to be in Dirt's corner over there decomposing slowly?
Oh yeah, no, I mean you can do
hook
that.
up?
Oh, well, I can't. I don't work for a funeral home. Brandon
Okay.
Dobbs does, but so I don't do the embalming. I've seen it.
But
you
I'm
know.
saying,
You
is
know
there
a guy.
a
But yeah.
Michael Jordan
No, there-
of dead person makeup?
there is like so the embalmers, the funeral directors will do that. Then when they get done, the body's got to set and fix or whatever. Then you actually have a cosmetologist who comes in,
Do
does
the
the
makeup.
makeup. They put like the wax and do all that stuff to make them look like they're,
Like they have
not.
color.
Oh, alive.
Yeah, I mean it looks fake,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but
But
then
that's
it-
what I'm saying. Is there somebody
Yeah,
that
there's-
is makes them look not
Yeah.
fake? Like
yeah,
there's a guy
and
that's
then, and then
the
there's
badass.
somebody who comes in who actually does the hair for them too, and stuff like
Okay.
that.
Tommy,
And
I
somebody
think
who
what-
dresses them.
I think what he's asking
Is there a superstar?
is there like a case comes through the door and someone goes, oh, this is a job for
yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
I mean
So-and-so.
that
and
that
there
would
would be this one guy that you're like, oh man, this guy's got like 17 bullet holes. We know the
Right,
guy.
someone
who can,
hit him
yeah.
in the face with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Like who can rebuild half of his skull?
Yeah. No, there is. Well, here in Orlando, we got the population's big, so
Yeah.
you have a lot of funeral homes to choose from, and so for the most part, they have like their own staff that does it. You got your prep room people, you got your embalmers, you got your cosmetologist. They bring in a hairdresser to do certain hair, somebody who dresses the body, and so they have staff to do it. Now, if you go to the Midwest, where you got a town of 2,000
10.
people, and they got one funeral home, you might I have friends who work in the same field that I'm in, like in Illinois, like outside of Chicago. So they're in the rural sticks area. And so like a friend of mine, he's an autopsy tech like I am, but he works for a coroner, and the coroner, they get called in on certain cases. So certain stuff they don't do an autopsy on if they don't need to. But if there's some that they're like, they need to do one, then they'll call the coroner. Well, maybe you got one for the state of Illinois. So if he's in the Northeast and somebody died in the Southwest, he's got to drive
Jeez.
6 hours to get down there and do that case. But he gets paid like he's like a contract employee. He gets paid to do the contract. And so then my friend goes with them, and he's the guy who does the eviscerating stuff.
Do you
like
go out in the field any, or do you
that.
just wait until
well,
they come?
well, right now I work for a hospital. I
Yeah.
retired from forensics.
Okay.
So now I do the pathology side. So I don't have to worry about.
So you're looking at organs and seeing if there's cancer in there. Or
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that?
I mean,
Okay.
we're looking to see how somebody died in a hospital, whether
Okay.
there was negligence in there.
Okay.
You know, whether the procedure they came in for, whether that caused them to die, or did they die because they needed the procedure and it was too late. And for the most part, most of the people that come in that need to have, you know, like the ECMO procedure where they have to pump in oxygen into the blood and stuff like that, which they should have done during COVID because
Yeah.
your lungs shut down when you get pneumonia.
Yeah.
And the problem is
Fill
by
up
the
the water.
the medical field has come a long way, but there's a lot of stuff they still don't know.
Mhm.
And doctors are brilliant people, but they don't have a lot of common sense. And you have to sometimes you got to spoon feed them stuff.
Yes.
And you tell them, okay, you got to do that. Like with COVID, you got to wear a mask. You don't got to wear a mask. And people wear a mask, but it covers their mouth and not their nose. And the way that you catch a virus is through the nasal passages because it gets in your mucus.
That's why
'Cause
you
if-
use
'cause if any-
Zicam.
Because if anybody took a COVID test, what they do is shove it right up your nose
Yeah.
because they're trying to get that mucous membrane, which is where the virus is.
Yep.
So if you're just covering your mouth and not your nose, well, guess what? Somebody coughs, you're going to get it.
Yep.
One of the jokes I made during COVID was I kind of liked you could tell immediately who the idiots
you
were
could see- yeah.
because they
And
were
the
wearing
people
the
that didn't
mask
wear it,
below their
it's like,
nose.
it's like, now I know you're an idiot because I can see your face because you're not wearing a mask.
But Bushy, hear what he said? It's all in the nasal things. Remember those sticks I gave you to rub up your
Yeah,
nose, and you
yeah.
felt great for 3 days afterwards, or whatever?
I never felt.
Well, you said
You
said
hear all
did.
you hear all those annoying Navage commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I have one.
Well, guess what?
Navage.
Those things clean out your nasal passages. You won't get sick if you got one of those.
They do.
Oh,
they do.
no
I'm
kidding.
not plugging them, but it does. You keep
But
your,
Navage
you
will
keep your
plug
nose
you.
clean, you won't get sick.
I like the idea now where he was talking about you've got like in Illinois, you know, if you die in Illinois in a rural area, you got like one person
Yeah,
that's gonna
one
take.
guy.
So it's like, sorry guys, you got Chuck taking care of your grandma. She's gonna look like a fucking clown.
It's gonna take 3 days because he's out of town.
He's really bad with the makeup.
He went on vacation.
Yep. Yeah,
so-
because
Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, in the densely populated states, cities, things like that, you're gonna have like a medical examiner because you have a bigger caseload. If you're in a rural area, you know, in the Midwest, if you're in Missouri or Illinois or stuff like that, that's where you're gonna have a coroner system, and because their standard operating procedures, certain cases they don't do.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody overdoses or dies naturally, they'll just go, that was natural causes. You know, they won't do an
Don't
autopsy
even do an
on 'em and stuff like
investigation.
yeah.
Naturally stupid.
But some of those they'll be like, okay, this guy was hanging from a tree, but
Did
you
he
know
do it or somebody
but he's
else?
he's got marks on his neck underneath the rope,
Yeah.
which means somebody choked him and then hung him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so
okay.
you have to figure out what the thing is on that.
Well, okay. So when I'm driving through town and I see like a dog that was been hit in the side of the road, it like wrecks me for a day. Like, are you able to like segregate, like disconnect seeing all those dead people and then going home? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff gets kind of maddening. In Florida, in the summertime, like I said, it's all decomposed bodies or it's
Bloated.
drownings.
Yeah.
And a lot of the drownings are kids because everybody has a pool
Oh,
and
man.
nobody pays attention, and the kid jumps in the pool, and they're on their computer checking their emails or they're on their phone, screwing around on Snapchat, and then they go, "Where's the kid?" They go out and the kid's floating.
Dude, I think
And
about
that
that
happens
whenever
a lot.
we put him Jackson in the tub. I think he's gonna like. That's why I check on him every like 5 minutes.
I mean, I've literally had cases where the guy's running the water for the kid. He's playing in there. Oh, let me just go check this email on my computer. He gets
Yep.
stuck in a wormhole. Half an hour later, he hears water overflow in the bathtub. Goes, oh crap!
Yep.
I left the kid in there. Goes, and then the kid's floating.
All right, the kid's showering from now
And it's
on.
fi-
No
and
more
it's
baths.
and it's like when they leave a kid in a hot car. It's not intentional. And it's like, are you going to lock a kid, a guy up that left his kid in his car? He just lost his kid.
Yeah.
So it's like that. He's going to have to live with that.
That
for the rest of
happens a
his
lot more than like people know.
Oh, yeah.
And I know we were joking, or you guys were joking about it last week. A little
We were
bit.
joking about the fact that you forget your daughter when you're leaving the house.
She's so quiet.
No.
she is
Okay,
very
so
quiet.
Until you need to
Owen,
yell
are
at
you-
her.
Are
Barely
you sure you
cries.
got the right kid? Because
So Owen is
know,
Owen
right?
is what are you? You'll be 45 this year, right?
45 this year.
45 this year.
I just had my first baby.
Just had his first child in October.
It hurt like hell
she had
coming
your
out.
first
I was
baby.
I was gonna say, man, you still got a lot of baby weight. It looks like.
I have triplets still. in
Brittany
here.
There you go. Ooh.
Brittany made the joke last week. So last week Owen wasn't here.
Yeah, I knocked
Brittany
this
made
chick
the
up.
comment that Owen still sometimes he'll be getting ready to leave the house and she's like, "Duh, your daughter." And he's like, "Oh shit, forgot. Yeah, I do have a daughter now."
She's so quiet.
She's
and
all
she's
set up in her car seat, and we have like her car seat right there by the garage door to go out, and he's just walking out without her. I'm like, I could have.
Well, I'm sorry. My focus is on the Jackson, the boy that can actually like destroy things. Your job is the baby. All right, I'm just kidding. There might be a need for a mortician here after the show. I don't know.
There we go. You're out of my jurisdiction.
All right, I'm sure you get asked this a lot, and I don't know if you want to get too detailed. I mean, we love details, but like, what's the most disturbing grossest thing you've kind of seen? Because everybody wants
well-
to know this shit, right?
Well, I mean, I'm obviously since I've been in the field and seen this stuff for years, I have kind of a weird look on stuff, so it doesn't really freak me out anymore.
We're all
'cause there's stuff that I've
desensitized
seen.
at some point.
I mean, I like to see the weird stuff. I like to see the morbid stuff. Whenever we get somebody gets hit by a train,
yeah.
it's not one just a dead
A
body
body,
got
a
run over.
Splatter.
It's pieces everywhere. I
It
mean,
explodes.
I've literally seen people that get chopped in half, and you got a torso sitting by the railroad tracks, and you're like, man, you guys couldn't just thrown that in a bag, and it's like they had the thing roped off, and we have our investigators come out and take scene photos and stuff like that, and there's a freaking torso sticking up like this, like it's a Halloween 3D dummy, and I'm like that some kid's gonna see that and be emotionally scarred for life.
Have you ever
But-
had anything I imagine you wear face shields and stuff? Maybe.
Oh
when
yeah,
you do
I
it?
mean I wear
Has
protective
anything ever
gear.
PPE?
hit the face shield?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, when we do a full autopsy, we're doing the chest and the abdomen, and then we got to do the head. So you got to open up the head. You got to saw that open, and inevitably, when you're sawing it open, if they have an aneurysm or there's blood or fluid in the leg,
Oh,
in
see,
the
that's
head,
what I was looking
it's
for.
going to start to spray sometimes.
Oh.
And so we wear. I'm wearing a face mask because you get bone dust from it, and if they have viral meningitis and it's in the brain, you might not be able to see that. But if the bone dust gets it and you breathe it in, guess what? Now you have meningitis, and that can be
shit.
fatal.
Oh man,
So-
Bone Dust was Owen's wrestling name.
Oh, there we go.
I was about to say
I was thinking that was going to be like a heavy metal group name. That'd be awesome.
I
wouldn't
was gonna say he's
Forget
more
Megadeth. I want to be in Bone Dust.
he's more of a man than I am. I've never had anyone's cerebral hematoma
Oh,
squirt
I've-
on me.
I've had
That's because you're not good enough.
I've had some cysts blow up.
I didn't turn it on.
Oh,
Cysts?
Oh, yeah, you get-
no.
Those
you
like
get,
big cysts,
cysts,
right?
No, cyst.
Well,
So
I mean,
like you get like if somebody's diabetic and you have bad kidneys, what happens is you get these these water pockets, which is a cyst, which is pretty
got
much
'em all over
it's
my
like a
body.
blister
Come here.
on a kidney, and it's
Oh wow.
and your kidneys filter your urine. So
Yeah.
guess what's in that cyst? It's
Oh.
urine.
Don't want to hear it. Don't
And
wanna
urine
so
cyst.
so when we have to take the kidney out, it's in a capsule. It's got the ureter, the little tube that comes out that goes down to the bladder. So we have to separate that, and you got to take it out of the capsule. You want to keep it intact because we have to examine it first before we section it up for histology and do all that weird crap. It's
Dinner.
all that weird junk. But if there's a cyst on there, you got to do it really slowly, because if you just yank it out, the cyst is going to pop and it's going to spray everywhere. And I've had that
Piss
happen.
everywhere.
I'm working with
and-
Dave tonight. He's a cyst popper.
Yeah, exactly.
Son
And
of a bitch.
I've had them on. Some cirrhotic livers have cysts all over.
Oh.
And then I've seen we have to take the bowel, the intestines out, so we got to run that out. And some of
Jump
those,
rope.
you get people that it's literally full of crap because it's the intestines.
I can almost
so-
smell this conversation.
And so if you nick something there, it's literally you got crap everywhere.
What's the
Man.
weirdest thing you found inside of a body?
My
let's
hand.
see.
My penis.
There you go.
we both live with body parts. There's a better.
There you go. Hey, what you do
A
on your
G.I.
time off?
Joe.
That's your time off, man.
a GI Joe.
Yeah, there you go. No, I mean I've seen people shove stuff in there. We did we had a case where this guy was flying from Mexico to Washington State,
Yeah.
and he was running drugs. When
Oh,
he
man.
swallowed like 20. I guess I want to say they took like plastic gloves and they
Yeah.
shoved cocaine
Yeah.
in
how
the
we do it.
fingers and then tied it off.
Yeah.
And then he swallowed it. So he had like 20 of them in his stomach. So he's thinking, hey, I'm just going to do this when I get there, crap them out and boom, I'm rich. Well, guess what? If you don't tie it tight, one of those things opens.
Seeps out.
And guess
yeah.
what? That's a couple ounces of cocaine. That's not going to
Oh.
give you a high. You are going to die from that.
Oh,
You're gonna
man. It's
gotta be a
You're going to
good-
start foaming at the mouth and you're going to die. Well, guess what? This guy's on a plane flying to Washington State, has a heart attack because one of them pops. The plane turns around, comes back. It was going from Miami to, I think, Washington State or something like that. Well, they had to turn around and come to Orlando because, oh, crap,
Yeah,
we got to get
in
this
the middle.
guy, medical attention or whatever. Well, if it lands in the airport in Orlando, guess what? Now it's an Orlando case.
Yeah.
Even though it came from Miami or wherever, now it's in our jurisdiction. Now we have to do the case. So then, like Homeland Security is going, well, we gotta to get the drugs, for all the stuff.
We got to
And,
test
and they're
them
like, we got to,
okay.
and of course, the federal government and county governments, it's like FHP and the sheriff's office. They don't get along.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like, screw you. This
We
is our
want the credit.
jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And so, so they try to pull their jurisdiction card and they coming in there and, this is our case and we need to have this. And we're like, okay, motherfucker, you go ahead and you get the stuff out of them.
I was going to say, you're like,
And-
I'm just trying
yeah.
to cut open a cyst here. Leave me
and-
alone.
And the guy's like, well, we need to have this and we need to have this. And we're like, this
Go
here
for
in
it.
Orlando, it's our jurisdiction.
That's when you
we
go,
call the shots here.
you want the drugs? Come over here and cut
Yeah,
this.
no,
and,
no,
then let,
that's
and then let the piss spray on that guy.
That's exactly what we had to tell them. We're like, okay, if this is your jurisdiction, here's the body. You guys have fun.
If you insist.
And so they're like, well, we don't know how to get that. Well, no shit. That's why we have jurisdiction. That's why you're in our office. I said, we'll do our case. We'll get, like, when we find stuff, ingested in there and stuff like that, it's got to get turned over to law enforcement. Now it becomes evidence. It gets turned over to them. They sign it over, and then it, goes through that other chain of command. So once we get it out, then we can sign it over to them. So we had to play that game for them. So
Wait, so as a mortician, you can like big dick the FBI?
yeah,
like,
kind of. I mean, when we, that's right. Sometimes you got to whip it out and show them who's boss, right? Am I right?
if you don't want to cut the cyst,
right.
you send it over to me.
Are drugs the main thing that you see in death?
Well, like I said, when I first started, motor vehicle accidents was the leading cause of death. Now it's pretty much 50-50 with all the opioid crisis because a lot of people
Oh,
overdose
yeah,
now.
yeah.
And like they still can't figure out fentanyl. Okay,
Yeah.
so what happens is, if you're doing prescription drugs, you've heard of a drug cocktail where you're taking one drug, you don't
Yes,
get high
I
off it
have.
anymore. So then you start mixing stuff because the reason you're taking drugs,
You're chasing
you want
that
to
high.
you're chasing
Yeah.
that high. Well, once you build up the tolerance, if one line of coke isn't going to do it, now you got to do 5 lines of coke. Now you got to do 10 lines of coke.
20.
And so, well, no.
Really?
So now fentanyl gives you a really good high if you do it the right way. If you've been doing coke a long time, instead of doing 5 lines of coke, you do 1 line of coke with fentanyl, you get that same high. So now you're saving money on coke. You're like bargain shopping.
Yeah.
But then you do
But
2
info.
lines.
But the problem is, you're not going out there and going to CVS and going, hey, let me get the good stuff. Let me get the regular stuff. I'm a newbie. Give me the new Coke. It's
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
that. You're going to whoever on the corner, and he's going, here's a dime bag. You don't know what the hell's in it. But chances are the guys cut it down because, you dilute it. You put
Yeah.
stuff in there. You put baby powder. You put stuff like anything that's white, you put it in there
Yeah.
because now it cuts it down. So now instead of 1 little bag, now you got 10 bags.
Yeah.
And 10 bags is more money than 1 bag.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when they start lacing it with fentanyl, people don't know what's in it.
Yeah.
And so then
Well,
they do it and
it's
then they die.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So when it comes to fentanyl, it's like grains. Like
It's like a powder. It's a
Yeah.
powder just like Coke.
But
what- yeah.
but if you have like 10 grain, so if you mix fentanyl in with Coke and you mix it up, it doesn't like
You mean
it's
part
such a
for part?
small amount of part for part
Yeah.
that you could
I see what
have
you mean.
like double the potency in this line than you have in this line. And if you snort that double potency line, you could be like DOA like right away.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Why would
Well,
you
if I'm
want to
not
kill the
mistaken,
people?
too, it's also because fentanyl's a downer and Coke's an upper, so it's also speedball. Like you're saying,
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
like a speedball.
cocktail.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
speedballing is extremely dangerous. 'Cause
What-
that's
what-
it's a high and
That's
a low
what
at the same time.
John Belushi.
Like
in
your heart goes a
River
mile a minute, but your
Phoenix-
body thinks you're just like tired.
Really?
And, yeah.
No,
it's the best.
It's the best.
Dude,
From what I've heard.
yeah. Allegedly.
I tried the Coke one time, and I don't know if like the guy who I was doing it with didn't do it right or what. I'm like, you're supposed to cut it up, I guess, make it a powder. I don't think he did that for me because he thought I knew what I was doing. I didn't fucking know what I was doing. And so I did like a bunch of big chunks, and it hurt, and I didn't like it, and I never done it again. And I'm glad my first experience like playing around with that shit was bad, because like you said, all that fentanyl is in everything nowadays. And
Yeah,
like,
well, it's the new thing, and you got to realize, like, for the most part, all the hard drugs we have, they were recreational back in the day. There was Coke in Coca-Cola,
Yeah,
soda,
yeah.
Exactly.
back in the day. They were given methamphetamine to soldiers
yeah.
in World War II,
And now we just give it
because
to
they didn't
kids.
feel pain and they could fight in the snow,
Yeah.
and they couldn't feel pain when then they got back there, and guess what? Your foot falls off because it froze and you didn't know it because you were so high.
Yeah.
Are there any good drugs out there?
Are there any? I mean, if you got the hookup at a pharmacy, maybe, Like I got a friend who's a pharmacist, and I say you're a legal drug dealer, which is what it is.
I'll smoke weed, which people consider as a drug, but I mean,
Eh,
really,
nobody.
it calms my head down. And like the shit that we're talking about now, sometimes in the past used to like fucking haunt me. It's like, what's going to happen when I die? I don't want to, like when we talk with Bubba, I don't want to shit myself when I die, so I can't ever die, so I don't ever shit myself,
Yeah, yeah.
But I can be going down one of these roads where I'm like going fucking crazy and worrying about everything. I'll smoke a little bowl of this like this plant, and then all of a sudden I'm fucking whistling. I love life. I'm skipping through the house. I mean, I don't
You run
consider.
out the door without your daughter.
Maybe that's why I forget her all the time.
Blame it on the drugs. Blame it on the drugs. right?
Maybe there's a connection here.
I have never seen him skip through the house.
I was about to say,
It's called frolicking.
honestly, I'm glad, because if he skipped through the house and you didn't film it and show it to us, I'd be a little
We
insulted.
have
He's
videos
never-
on our cameras now. We
He
need
has never
we need
frolicked.
proof.
I'm
He has never skipped.
I'm just saying. That's
I want to
just-
see you do a cartwheel with no
Oh, there
pants
we
on.
go.
really with them on. Sure. I mean,
You said
With no pants
wait.
on.
You
no
said
pants
you
on?
want to see him do a cartwheel with no pants
with
on.
no pants. Yeah.
I think I'm good.
that's in the fourth
You have
segment.
you have fun with that.
Maybe you'll get a somersault.
So now there was one case that I did that was like really weird, that sticks out in my head. This guy was committing suicide, so he decides to drink toilet bowl cleaner.
Oh wow.
Well, this toilet bowl cleaner had sulfuric acid in it because that eats up everything. Well, guess what? When you swallow that, your organs start to disintegrate.
Oh
so
my God.
when we opened him up, we do the external exam. We look at everything on the outside. He looks, fresh, nothing wrong. Open him up, he's starting to decompose on the inside.
Oh my God.
That's got to be one of
Because
the
usually you
worst
decompose
ways
from
to
the
go.
outside in
What does that
instead of
smell
inside
like?
out. But it didn't really have a smell. But literally, as soon as I took an organ out, it started to decompose.
Mush?
It just started to,
Did
disintegrate.
it melt your gloves?
So we had
'Cause it
to-
had the...
No, it actually. I mean, I wear like the 5 mil protective gear gloves that
Oh,
are like,
okay.
stuff like
Almost
that.
like grouting
And
gloves.
so
They're like super
they're like the super thick
Yeah.
rubber gloves that we
Okay.
were. They're disposable, but I mean, like you have the thin ones that like the cooks and stuff
Like
wear.
surgical.
But, but then there's some that are like 5 times that
Okay.
that density, which are safer. I mean, a blade will still cut through it, but the fluid's not going to get in that and stuff like
Well,
that. So,
apparently
Right.
they're
So
chemical
I u-
resistant.
yeah, exactly. So I use that when I'm eviscerating because you're dealing with a lot of fluids.
Eviscerating.
Well,
Yeah.
did you also ever deal with any like really bad diseases, almost like Ebola or anything?
Oh yeah,
kinda
no, I've
cases?
seen that. I mean, I've seen COVID, I've seen pneumonia and stuff like that. And for the most part, when you get a disease, when you get a virus, stuff like that, it needs oxygen to thrive to live. Once you stop breathing, you have no oxygen in your body and your blood anymore
It needs
because you
food.
stop doing it. So whatever virus you have in your blood pretty much dies.
Yeah.
Now there is that 0.001 chance that you could have it. There's that if somebody died of AIDS and you got stuck by it and it hit the right thing and got absorbed, yeah, there's a 0.001 chance that you could get it, but the chances are very slim.
Yep.
I mean, they're not zero. You know, it's just like
There's
saying
001.
exactly. It's just like saying, you know, nobody's been killed by a cow, but there's that one chance that somebody could get killed by a cow. You know, there's always that.
It's going to be Owen.
I was gonna say in Florida, it's definitely.
He's
going to
be frolicking in a field and get hit by a cow. There you go.
It wasn't mad cow disease.
Just don't do it in my jurisdiction.
It wasn't bad. God damn it.
Oh,
I
you
could've-
plugged.
You
There
unplugged
you
your
go.
own mic.
Check. God damn.
No, I can see it. It's
Censoring
like
himself. There you go.
Is it in?
Yeah, I think it's
Is it
just.
in?
I think I heard
Alright.
it click.
I was just gonna say it wasn't mad cow disease. It was just an angry cow.
There
But
you
anyway,
go.
never mind.
He was misunderstood. Yeah.
All right. So when you're working, when you're cutting somebody up, when you're pulling organs out, and are you just focused on that, or do you have like music playing in the background, or are you talking with
Well,
friends?
I mean, we do have music in the background because it gets kind of monotonous in there.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
you
what I
know,
was
yeah.
You need something to drown it out, but for the most part, I'm looking at the clinical side. I'm trying to go. To me, it's like a puzzle. It's a mystery. What caused this person to die? Now, sometimes we have they had a medical history, or you know, this guy's passed out on his couch and he's got pill bottles all over his counter.
So you kind of know.
Because so we know, okay, chances
You
of
have
this
a
guy
lead
being
to
an
follow.
OD. Exactly. So, you know, we have an idea. Sometimes we get people and you have no idea what happened. You got some bum behind a dumpster behind the 7-Eleven. You have no idea what medical history this guy has because
Yeah.
he's never been to a doctor because he's homeless.
Yeah.
You know, so
Right.
then we have to go, well, is it natural? Did somebody go there and drug him? Did he drug himself? Did somebody, you know, go up there and beat him in the head? Because unfortunately we got assholes who go up there
Yep.
and pick on innocent people, you know, and so we have to look at that. And
Yeah.
so if somebody's dead and you kick them in the head, they're not going to get a bruise because the blood's not flowing.
They'll just
Now,
get-
if, now, if the person's, you know, just unconscious and you kick them in the head, now there's going to be a bruise there and maybe a hole. So then when we open up the head and you see
You'll
blood
see
in
the
there,
blood, yeah.
now we're going, well, did this guy get drunk and fall over? If there's a big fracture, did somebody kick him in the head? So was it an accident or was it intentional, which
Yep.
turns it into a homicide? So we have to look at all that stuff. So we're looking, you know, we're trying to figure out, you know, the clue and piece everything together.
Well, we mentioned Dr. G.
Yeah.
Earlier. Were you around here back in the Casey Anthony
Yes, I was.
trial?
Yep.
Did she kill her daughter or not?
So, well,
I
mean,
want to
it's-
know.
It's public knowledge now because everything's in there and we got so many
She pretty
documentaries.
much did. Yeah.
No, what happened was she over-medicated the kid because she wanted to go partying. And, you know, back in the day, you want your kid to sleep. You know, I wouldn't recommend doing this even though your kid's quiet. But, you know, maybe you put a little, you know, whiskey in the milk so the kid falls asleep quicker and sleeps through the
Okay.
night. Well, I'm sure she probably gave the kid some medication or something like that or some cough medicine. The kid fell asleep. Well, she, you know,
Well, that's
you
one
don't
thing.
give him the same.
But she
don't give 'em-
also taped her mouth
Well,
shut.
no, but what happened was kids die accidentally all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's negligence, whether it's, you know, an accident, stuff like that, you know, it does happen. And that scenario where the kid was over medicated and died, that happens a lot. It doesn't make the news. This one made the news because
Really?
it got picked
Wow.
up.
Yeah.
And so that one did. But what got her was
The
once
lying.
the kid died, they disposed of the body. They didn't go, oh, you know, we had an accident, the kid died, you know, they didn't call 911. They're like, oh, crap.
You
know,
say
we gotta get
they,
rid of the
not
body.
her.
Yeah, they.
So you
Well,
think
because
mother and
the-
father
her,
helped?
her
Yeah,
parents were
they were-
complicit. Her parents
so?
knew
They
about
were
it. Her
involved in
dad
it.
was a police detective. He knows what's going on. He knows what the consequences are going to be.
Okay.
And the reason they taped up the mouth is because once the body dies, your muscles stop working. So once you start rolling them around, all the fluids are going to start coming out. It turns into
Wow.
purge fluid. So
I didn't know that.
so
yeah.
all the stomach contents, your blood, stuff like that, you start rolling them around, it's going to come out any holes. It's going to come out your nose, it's going to come out your mouth, you know, it's going to come out your ass. It's
Yeah.
going to, you know, as you start rolling them around, it's going to get messy. So if she's trying to pick up the kid and move the kid around, she's going to put tape over there so the kid doesn't purge everywhere.
Wow.
And then she put the kid in a bag, put it in the trunk. They're going, why does the trunk smell? Well, even if you get blood in your trunk, in the Florida heat, it's going to start to decompose. It's going to smell. And a decomposed smell, if you've ever smelled an animal that got hit by the road, and it's, you know, you're like, some animal died here.
Yep.
A human smell is very distinctive. A decomposed one, there's no going, oh, you know, I accidentally
It's
put-
not pizza.
I didn't put groceries in my trunk and the raw hamburger fell out and I forgot about it and cooked.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that happen. I've had friends who did that and it rolled under their seat and they didn't know. And guess what? You got a pound of hamburger under your seat
Ugh.
in the Florida sun. That's going to get very ripe.
You know, I mean, the what you just said, you know, she drugged her to like go out to party. That makes sense. And oh, I did too much. Dad, what should I do? do that. That all totally makes sense. Other than like the scenario I had in my head a little bit. Like I figured she gave her a little medicine, put tape over her mouth, said stay in my trunk while I go party.
Stay in my trunk while we go party.
Exactly. I'm just going to the strip club for one
Yeah,
drink. You know,
but,
one
but,
dance.
But you know, you're the way what you're saying. I mean, evidence and facts
Yeah, well-
are really awesome.
See. The way
Evidence and
the way-
facts are great.
the way people always get caught is when they try to cover up something.
Okay.
The reason you can't catch serial killers is because they thought everything out ahead of time. So they said, I'm going to go here, I'm going to pick this person, I'm going to kill them. I already have a way to dispose of the body, I'm going to take it here, and by the time they
They
figure it out,
fantasize.
it's gone.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
had a plan. What happens with most homicides is it's a fit of rage. You know, we get into a fight, I knock you in the head, you fall back, and you hit the ground and you crack your head open, and now you die. Now all of a sudden you're going, oh
What should
crap,
I
I
do?
just killed this
Yeah.
person. I got to get rid of this body. Well, now once you do that, you're going to get blood everywhere. Now
Yeah.
you're going to try to clean it up. There's
And you're in more trouble than if
yeah,
you just
exactly.
I
if
punched
you
a
said
guy.
yeah, I mean, there's going to be consequences, but now because you covered it up, now there's going to be even more consequences.
It almost looks
And-
like it's premeditated.
And it's easier to catch you once you start trying to cover up stuff because you're going to trip over yourself.
Yep.
You're going to, once you move the body, you're going to get blood everywhere. You're going to get purge fluid everywhere. You go to try to clean that up. There's chemicals that you can literally look at and you can go, there was a big pile of blood here,
Yep.
and they put bleach on it to try to clean it up.
Hardest thing that's been said all night: purge fluid.
Yep.
That's my new punk band name.
There you go.
purge fluid.
I still think bone dust is a little better.
No,
Bone
But
Dutch
but
and
it's-
yeah.
I'm
They'll-
pretty
they'll do a they'll do a collab.
I'm
there
pretty
you go.
sure I read purge fluid in one of those texts from Vince McMahon, but I
Oh.
didn't read it.
Oh yeah.
I like
Yeah,
cyst popper.
But all right. Now when you're in working and stuff, and it's really cool that hospitals actually have a program that if you die in the hospital, that they'll check you out to make sure it wasn't the hospital's fault or something, right? I mean,
Yeah, it depends. They're again, it's they want to see whether
it was
if
the
you-
hospital's fault.
Yeah, it's a hospital fault because then it becomes like liability. They don't want to
Yeah.
get sued. They want to protect their ass and get malpractice and stuff.
And my thought was like, if you didn't have any family and you unfortunately had to go to the hospital and they messed up on you and killed you, let's sweep it under the rug. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But there is actually an entity out there that will check and make sure that everything is up and up.
The pathology department, the actual pathologist and the pathology assistants that I assist, when I'm doing those, they're actually technically contract employees for the hospital. So they don't actually work for the hospital, they work with the hospital.
Yeah.
And so they can do an autopsy on a case and they're totally objective because they're not going, we got to make it look like they didn't do it. We're just going, this is what we did, this is what we
saw.
found. You guys run with the results.
Do you work for a hospital chain here in the
Yes.
Central? Does it start with an O or an A?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. I like that.
Come on.
There you go.
Well, I work for both of them too, and I
Uh-huh.
do other things. I work on the hoods that you're using. You're
Oh, okay.
cutting the stuff up. The fume
ventilation hoods.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I know what those are.
But anyway, all right. So when you're doing that stuff, I mentioned earlier about music. Like, do you have play music in the background? You said
Oh, yeah.
definitely. What do you like to listen to normally? Is it country music or is it rock music?
No, I usually like rock music. I like classic rock, alternative rock. Let's listen to like JRR stuff like
Okay.
that.
all
we
right,
just
yeah, I'm with you. But
And-
not rap.
yeah, no.
No, not rap.
No,
Okay.
I
what's
mean,
your favorite
you
song
don't
to-
want to be headbanging when you got sharp objects in your hand. 'Cause chances are you're going to be cutting yourself and not the
True.
body.
What's your
True.
favorite song to eviscerate to?
Well, I mean, when the bodies hit the floor is always a good classic. Disturbed is always a good one.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, this man.
I just, for some reason in my head, I just imagined him. If you've ever seen Reservoir Dogs with dancing around the guy with the fucking razor blade, I just snapping on rubber gloves. He's the man in the box.
There you go.
Buried in. Oh, no.
Um,
My